Hi there, Ed Moses here, and welcome to Project Mindset. I want to tell you a story today. Have you ever seen the show It's a Wonderful Life? It's a pretty old show. I'm not sure how old it is exactly, but you know, the first time I ever watched it was with my parents. I was a pretty young kid, and you know, I watched it, and you know, it's not the happiest show throughout until the end, of course. And you know, I thought to myself, that kind of stuff will never happen to me. You know, my world could never possibly get to that point where, you know, I see myself standing on a bridge looking over into an icy water thinking, you know, this will just jump off the edge and end it all right now, and all my problems are gone. No more debt, no more problems, no more job I hate, you know, all that stuff gone. Just in a flash, you know, in your front of your eyes, and so you know, as you get older, you start to think that, you know, and I watched it for the first time with my mother and father, and they told me that, you know, if you play it safe and do the right things, you'll never have those problems. That'll never happen to you, and you know, I actually believed that, and I also believed, you know, I trusted in their thoughts on what I should be doing with my life, the career choices I should be making. And I was and still am, a very creative person. I always wanted to go to an art college and go into something that excited me, because I like to do things with my hands. I'm a very creative person, and that's really what my ultimate goal was in life, was to become have a very creative career where I could make things that excited me, and just be, you know, have something to be proud of. And so, you know, I didn't follow those dreams because my mother in particular, she always reminded me that, oh, you know, the starving artist, you've heard the starving artist, you'll never make enough money as an artist, blah 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 blah. And so, you know, as a kid, I said, okay, well, you must be right. What do I know? I'm just a kid, right? So I followed someone else's dream, pretty much, you could say. And, you know, so through my life, I followed a career path that had absolutely no interest in me, absolutely nothing. I could care less for it. And all it really did over the years was make me more and more unhappy, more and more depressed, and believe it or not, even more and more broke. And you know, the depression came in when I realized that, you know, I took other jobs, went to different companies, and it never got better. It actually got worse. I just, you know, the more obligations you get into within the company, you know, as you increase your level within a company, and it made things seem worse, because I was, you know, it thought that would make it better, but it just made me more depressed. And you know, I don't know, maybe if you've been in a situation like that, or are in a situation like that, you can probably understand that. And so what happened was, in an effort to make myself feel better about things, what I started doing was buying more things for myself that I thought that would make me happy. You know, I bought some cool cars, you know, bought some cool stuff for the house, bigger TVs, and just stuff that I thought would make me happy, and all it did was create more debt. And from there, what it did was make me feel more locked into a job that I hated, and made me even more depressed. And you know, it just was not the life I really thought I was heading for. And so eventually you start to think back to It's a Wonderful Life, and it's like, wow, you know, I never thought that my life would become that. Well, then one day I got the phone call. I was at work, and it was right before Christmas a couple of years back, and I got the phone call. I got the phone call that pretty much lets you know that you've hit rock bottom, that your life is pretty much as crappy as it could possibly get for you, or so you think anyway. And so I got the call, and I answered the phone, and the man on the other end of the phone said, "Your house is on fire, you need to come home as soon as possible." And I was like, oh no. You know, and the only thing, you know, the thing that runs through your head at that time is, I've got Christmas gifts, the furniture, the family heirlooms. I had a pet cat, and the only thing that starts, running through your head is, what's going to happen to all this? What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to all this hard work that I put in over the years? And so I got home and saw what was left of the house, and pretty much had probably the worst Christmas of my entire life. And you move on. You move on. I lived with a friend for about a year until I had the house rebuilt. And what happened to me during that period of time was, it gave me time to think, time to reevaluate who I was, where I was going with my life, and where I wanted to go. And I knew that my current situation had to stop. It had to end. And no matter what it would have evolved into, it had to go. I wasn't going to live another unhappy day going to a job that I didn't want anything to do with anymore. And the house, I didn't have a house for a year, and it was like probably one of the worst moments of your life, because the house was the only freeing thing I had. I could come home and relax, and it was, it took me away from where I didn't want to be. And when that was gone, it was like, now there's no place that I wanted to be anymore. There was no place. And, thoughts run through your head. And I know I started to think to myself, maybe I should have been asleep in the house while it was burning, and it would have been over. I would have, all the job I hated, the debt, the unhappiness, the boring life would have been over, done. All fragment of my imagination. It never happened. And that never happened. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It was just, if you've been in a situation like that, and you probably understand where I'm coming from, especially, right around the holidays, and it changed everything. It changed everything for me, everything. I can't tell you what it brought me to, because I'm a totally different person from that moment, because I realized at that time that there was no way I could stay on the path I was going anymore. I realized that it was over. And during that period, I started to do a lot of reading. I started reading about a lot of positive books that to create a different mindset within myself. And oddly enough, it started to lead me to other books where I started to learn more about the conscious and the subconscious mind, how that works, how it correlates with my life. And I started to understand more and more that, the life that I have created for myself was simply that. I created it. For years I kept looking outside of myself for some form of happiness that was never there. And when you do that, when you live a life looking outside of yourself for some happiness, or for something that's going to make you feel better, if you do find it, it's always going to be a temporary thing. It will never be a permanent thing, because that newness, that freshness wears off pretty quick, because deep down inside you're still that same person. You're still that unhappy, depressed person that hasn't evolved. And at that moment, I started to pick up some books, like Think and Grow Rich was really good. Psycho-Cybernetics was really good. And all these books were giving me the same message, that if you want to change your life, you've got to change you first. You've got to change who you are. You've got to change the way you think. You've got to change the way you look at things. And, I did that. I did that. And I started to accept things for what they were. And also, like Eckhart Tolle will say, surrender. And a lot of people get this kind of mixed up as a bad thing. Surrender does not necessarily mean give in to what you don't want. All the surrender means in this case is to say, okay, this is where I'm at, and that's okay. You only surrender to that moment of where you're at currently and say that's okay, because once you understand and you realize that this is where I'm at right now, this is not the end of me, this is not the end of you, it's not over. Once you realize and you accept that as what it is, that is when you can actually start building yourself up to where you want to go. So surrender is not a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing. And you know, it led me to some other channels in my life, realizing that my life could be wonderful. It's a wonderful life. And I started to look at internet business, internet marketing and stuff of that nature, because I thought to myself, if I could at least be home working my business, working for myself, working at my pace, working at my hours, I could be a much happier person. And I realized that. So I started to look into other businesses and reached a point where I started to realize that a lot of marketers are failing out there. A lot of people are not doing very well in internet businesses because they don't understand a few things. One thing that they're doing is looking outside of themselves for the answer. You know, well, to some degree, yeah, there's some things you got to look on the outside, like how to market, how things work, you know. But once a lot of these marketers realize this, they're still failing. And that's when you got to, you know, come back home and say to yourself, what do I need to change about me that's going to correct this problem? And that's when I created Project Mindset. I realized that people aren't dumb. You know, it gets confusing when you're in a situation where you're not happy for a long time. You start to lose a direction that would otherwise be there. And I look back to like when I was a young teenager and wanted to go to art college really bad. I had that creative instinct, and I was always looking for a better way of doing things. And as I got into the corporate world, I realized that they had stolen that from me, that creative side, because what happens in a corporate environment is you live your life based on processes. They create a process. This is how you do your job. This is how we do this. This is how we do that. And there's really not any room for somebody with a creative mind, because this is how we do it. There is no deviation. If you don't do it this way, if you're familiar with ISO, you just, you know, you broke the rules and get rode up. So I went back and I started to think like a teenager again and started to realize that there is a better way of doing things, and I created Project Mindset knowing that there is a better way. And my goal when I created Project Mindset was to help people find a better way, to help them create the lifestyle they want and be happy at the same time. And you know, life doesn't have to be something you don't want it to be. And for the longest time, I didn't know any better. I thought this was it. This was what my mind was convinced. This is it for me. I'm too old. I make too much money. I'll never get paid this somewhere else. Yeah, all these thoughts, all these negative thoughts were going through my head, and perhaps you can relate with that. If you can, you know, take a look at Project Mindset. And once you click on the link that's here, if you're looking at just the video, click on the link underneath the video, or click on the link in this blog if you're looking at the blog, and it's in a couple places here. So, you know, there is a better way. There is a better way, and I can help you find a better way. That's what I do, and that's what I love to do, because I've been there. I've been down that trashy road, and I've been unhappy, and you know, it had to end. And this is where it brought me. I'm never going to go down a road of unhappiness again. I realize that life is what you make it. If you want to make a better life for yourself, you've got to believe that you can make a better life for yourself. You are never stuck. You're never stuck. You may not see the road that's going to take you where you need to be, but the road is there. It is there. But you first got to open your mind up to it. You got to first, and you got to understand that by opening yourself up to it, that's the only way you're going to find it. And you can only start here. You can only start with yourself. You can't start outside of yourself. The answer is inside of yourself. And that's what I want you to understand. That's what I want to help you understand. If you're going down this rocky road, I can help you. I can help you open your mind to a new reality, a new world, and you deserve that. So, again, I'm Ed Moses with Project Mindset, and like I said, I created Project Mindset with the ideal that there is a better way of doing things. I know there's a better way of doing things, and I'd like to show you how the better way is. So, appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I've got a feeling it's probably a long video, but this video really means a lot to me because I'm actually coming to you, from an honest point of view of where I came from, and life has not been an easy road, in the beginning for me, but but things change, and I changed that myself. And I know I can help you change that as well. So I will talk to you in the next video. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye now.